So you've chosen to be a Celestial Healer in DC Universe Online. This video will show you everything you need to know about being a Celestial Healer. If you're looking for specific timestamps to specific sections of the guide, in terms of like augments, skill points, rotation, loadout, generator mods, consumables, etc., you will find those in the description video as well as the pinned comment. So if you need to refer to a section directly, skip ahead or review, then you check out those comments. So in terms of Celestial, we'll touch on the skill point spec. So for Celestial is, I wouldn't say power heavy, but it certainly is not power light on the consumption side. And Hybrid, even though you see those extra stats, to be able to make Hybrid viable, you have to be able to alternate weapon combos. If you're skipping your weapon combos, you're going to run out of regen way too quickly because it's designed for both. So super powered is always the not only the safer, but the more practical way to approach healing in general. So you're going to take the 20 critical healing magnitudes. Sorry, the first one was critical healing chance. This one will be the 40 will be the critical healing magnitude. We're going to put everything to restoration. Now we're going to jump back to our alternate skill points before we go back to the main ones. So iconic powers, you're going to want to take Pheromone Bloom. Super speed or your movement tree, you're going to obviously take your super speed innate. Your next tree doesn't really matter, even through acrobatics or anything. The super speed, for example, doesn't matter. You do want, if you can afford the skill points, you do want to take your innate recoveries in your movement tree. It's going to help for the power back. Every little bit counts. And then, for example, for Celestial, you'd want to be able to take another power. You need another supercharge that's 2,500 power cost just for those gem spam rotations. So, I mean, you can take speed drain, you can take metabolic boost. Really doesn't matter. They're both going to be 2,500 supercharges. So, if you're skimming or flight, just take another 2,500 to work with Bloom. Now, for weapons, while healing doesn't really have any specific weapon choices, you do have few depending on your skill points. So, if you are low meta skill points, you can spec into Handblast or Solar Flame. Really nice. Solar Flame, the weapon combo itself, has a lot of great weapon regen in terms of your supercharge. Now, if you prefer dual wield, you can also do a flurry shot and explosive shot. That's what I do. So you want to max out the dual wield tree, and in turn we'll have the max out bow. And then we go back to dual wield and take explosive shot and flurry shot. Now the other option as well is you could do brawling Shuriken Storm mastery. So same thing, if you want to do brawling Shuriken Storm, you take the entire brawling tree, the entire martial arts tree, and then go back to brawling and take Shuriken Storm mastery. So those pretty much are the three core choices for weapons for healers. You can use like dual pistol spam too. I mean, it's completely up to you. But I mean, if you're looking for the three ideal weapon combos, it's going to be dual flurry shot, brawling Shuriken Storm for AOE, and then just Handblast or Solar Flame for more generic. But once again, completely up to you in terms of your choices. So going back to the main tree now, obviously you're not going to have 573 skill points to spec, so don't worry about that. With Celestial being a little bit heavy on the power side, you definitely want to take 100 into Might and Power. Now, if you're looking at the healing formula, or if you're looking at in terms in general, you can see if we go to that healing formula, it technically does include dominance in that, not only for the shields, but also for the healing. I'm going to put up an example here on the screen just so you can read it. So this was done as a 342 healer, so 2 OP items, full buffs, no artifact, so it gives you your base resto, base dominance. So that basically the split is between 61% resto, 15% dom. Now with 0 skill points spec'd into dom, the base heal multiplier works out to 20,812, and then 100 skill points into dom to get that 10% increase. It only goes up to 20,991. So it's less than a 1% increase on your base healing multiplier by putting 100 skill points in dom. It's just not practical. You would have to put like 250, 200 skill points into dominance to make even a bit of difference. So it's just not worth it to spec. What is worth it is to look for older OP items. So OP items would be items of omnipotence. So for example, like the face, if you have the back from the current DLC, in terms of flashpoint. Now, for example, if we look here, so the flashpoint head is 295 item level. If we look at the OP head, it's 292 item level, 3 levels lower. However, you can see all those stats on it are much higher. So it does lose 129 resto, which is marginal. You do gain 700 health, almost 500 defense, and 2500 dominance. So that's where you have to look into keeping your old omnipotence items and just seeing what, in terms of stats, what it gives you. Because in this case, I would certainly give up 129 resto to gain 2500 dom as a healer. But there's no way you can reach that in your spec. It's just not practical. So by simply going in for another OP item, you can gain that extra dominance for free. So, I mean, are you going to give an item just to gain 268 power, 129 resto in terms of losing out all those other stats? You're not. So that's the beneficial there. So that's why you can skip it in the skill points. So I would go at least to 100 bite and power, and then your rest of the skill points into health, depending on what you have. I mean, if you feel like you're using more power, then you can increase your might and power. You can also take the purple healing ray, which we'll touch on artifacts in a moment. But that's generally what your spec is. Put at least 10% into power, and then the rest into health. Don't worry about specking dom whatsoever as a healer. So for augments. Now, if you are looking at this augment screen, it may look a bit different depending on what your mentor is. My mentor is Superman, so it's a meta UI. You could also have like a magic UI with like Cersei or Wonder Woman, like Batman or Lex, or is it Batman Joker? Can't remember for a villain. But either way, it would look like a tech UI there, but you're going to have the same type of augment. So the adaptive augments or your head augments, these are going to change per episode. So depending on what you are, so say for example we're in Flashpoint currently, that's why these say restoring speed force cells. These are part of the Flashpoint episode, but you could have ones from previous ones. For example here, the precise enchantment ones would be from the Atlantis ones. Going back to restoration here, this would be metal part 1. So depending on what you have or what episode you're in is going to be depending on what your adaptives are. In terms of your origin augments, they're always going to be restoring. So taking that. Looking into artifacts. Artifacts are going to be split into 2 categories. You have your pure healing artifacts, and you also have your Gemini spam artifacts. So we'll touch on pure healing first. So we've got purple healing ray, page of destiny, and transformation card. We'll touch on purple healing ray first. I'll show examples of these artifacts in the rotations examples. So if you're looking to see how these artifacts interact with your healing and how they play off each other. But for example, healing ray charges your purple ray healing up to 4 times your total restoration. What that means is that at rank 200, you have to heal 4 times 58,424 to be able to get the purple healing ray to proc. So the purple healing ray, you're going to have 2 procs. Either the priority heal proc, so you and your target gain up shield up to 2 times restorations, absorbs 20% damage and resets the cooldown, and restores 20% power. Now if you're procking on your group heal, it's going to place a heal over time on you and your allies for 8 seconds, increases heal over time value, and resets the cooldown, as well as restoring power. So purple light is the proc technically when I say purple healing ray. But for example, 200 it's 4 times. At 160, 120 it's 5 times. So that's the only difference. So you'd heal, the amount of heals you'd have to deal yourself would be 5 times 58,424 instead of 4,000 or 4 times 58,424. So page of destiny, each time you use a group heal ability, it's going to place a stack of Revivify. So you can go a maximum stack of 10 stacks. Refreshing once every 30 seconds by hitting another group heal. So what that means is that if a player drops below 40% health, Page of Destiny is going to proc and expel all the stacks that are on that player basically as a rescue heal. So it's a passive heal, one of those like emergency heals where you don't have to really, as long as you're using group heals and refreshing it, it's always going to be being on a player and can pretty much make or break and save a raid. So the other advantages are you get the increased healing for the group heal by 20%. You also, I think at 160, increase the healing done by the actual Page of Destiny stacks. And at 200, your group heal changes from yourself and 3 to yourself and 5 targets. So you get an extra 2 targets out of it. Transformation card just increases the critical chance and magnitude on your heals. So this ties into Purple Healing Ray. So the more criticals you have, especially with Celestial because it's heal over time, so you're going to have a lot of crits because Celestial has a lot of heal over times. So the more crits you have, the faster you're going to proc and gain Purple Healing Ray to Purple Light. So it just kind of plays off each other. So for Gem Spam build, you're going to scrap the Soul Cloak, Eye the Gemini. So with Eye Gemini, you're focusing on Caster's Watch, which restores 3% health and 2% supercharge every second, and then once it expires, all the heal from the allies you healed are healed back at that moment. And then at 200, it gives you 5% dominance, health, and restoration. So the ideal goal with a Gem Spam Loadout is that pretty much continually, because the supercharge are going to have 30-second cooldowns and be 2,500 power cost, or scrap the Soul Cloak, you gain the 7% supercharge back by using a supercharge at rank 200. At rank 160 or below for Soul Cloak, you'd want to have extended supercharge in your chest mod, which we'll touch on in a moment. And then Page of Destiny. Page of Destiny is probably the most important heal artifact with that passive emergency heal. You can have Purple Healing Ray if you're kind of suffering for power, but Page of Destiny is going to make or break a raid. It's the difference between like a group wipe on a tank and not. Because there's plenty of mechanics that kind of come up with a player's not ready. Instead of a death, then Page of Destiny will save them. I've seen it plenty of times in Elite where they've only been saved by Page of Destiny procs. Fracture Godsphere Elite is a good example of that. So it's one of those healing artifacts you must have in all situations, in my opinion. And touching it up, we do have Philosopher's Stone. This is not a requirement. It's just one of those artifacts where if you have some extra money or during a sale or extra nth metal to spend, you want to level up Philosopher's Stone as a healer. It's very handy because of the 0 power cost ability. So when you pop it, 200 is great because you get the double duration. But when you're popping that, you get the 0 power cost for 8 seconds. So you can basically just drop your entire power bar. It's not going to cost anything, especially for Celestial. It's handy because of the high power cost and some of the abilities. So it can be quite handy, and it helps the group as well. But that's not a requirement. I know it will be expensive with all the catalysts and the investment into it, but if you already have all the current healing artifacts, then it's a nice one to have. So jumping back to the gear mods. So for weapon, we're always going to have replenishing adapter because power is king. So restored adapter technically would give out a small heal. But if you were low on power and you got a power proc from replenishing, 1 power cost from any of your heals, like your group heal, admonish, whatever, consume soul, is going to be much higher than anything restored adapter would do. So you always want to take replenishing adapter because power is going to be king in each situation as a healer. So for helmet is going to be kind of depending on what you're doing. If you're just running Cursed Idol, you could use that. If you're using like a supercharged build, you could do like Pheromone Bloom, just depending on what you're doing. So whatever primary supercharge you're running, use that. Neck mod is always going to be Focus Restoration. Back mod is always going to be Accelerated Blessing. Chest mod is going to be Power Efficiency. This is going to help with the increased power cost of the Celestial Healers because most of them are like a base healing of 300. And you got Virtuous Light, which is 450. Same thing with Guardian's Light. I think Guardian's Light's 450 as well, or 400. Leg mod, we're not using Malediction, we're not using Retribution, we're not using Wrath of the Presence, and even if we were, all the healing from the leg mods are inconsequential. They don't scale anymore, so don't worry about it. So for the hand mods, once again, this is a default. There's nothing here that's beneficial to Celestial Healing whatsoever, so you're just taking the default to max damage. And then for your foot mod, I always recommend Tumbling Mastery just for survivability's sake. So your dodge roll's not invulnerable to interrupt, as well as it gives you a little bit more on your roll distance. And for consumables, as Celestial, you'll be looking for the Nutri Soda. That's going to be increasing your restoration. You don't really need like personal dampening field or breakout trinkets. It's not necessary for heal. You're perfectly fine running just Nutris. And then your regular utility belt would just be a damaged DPS pet, orbital strike, supply drop, and your regular healer trinket for increased restoration. That's pretty much all you need. Any other consumable is just going to be not completely necessary. So it's more like a niche situation that you would require it. So for Affinity Mods, at least in the Watchtower, you're going to be going to the Tech Wing up to the Affinity Mod Generator. So let's pop over there and show you which ones you need to get. Okay, so I can't speak to the Hall of Doom, but at least in the Watchtower, it's going to be in the Tech Wing in this corner. You're going to want Restoration A, Restoration B. Now, this isn't going to be for everyone. These require elite pieces of gear. As you see, once installed in your generator while wearing 4 pieces of elite gear, you gain 1% restoration. It's much easier to achieve 4 pieces of elite gear, especially if you're wearing an OP item, which will count towards your elite gear. So like OP back, OP head, there's 2 already. Getting the 6 and 8 elite procs aren't really required by most players. I mean, if you're a casual player, you don't feel like you have to do this. You'd be getting healing conversions, so using a priority heal or reduce the power cost of your next superpower within 15 seconds. I mean, that's nice, but it's certainly not worth 6 pieces of elite gear. So don't feel you're obligated to get this. And the same thing with the 8 proc, it's Field Medic. Field Medic, the aura that it produces, you have to be basically hugging the player beside you to be able to proc it, and if the heals are really insignificant too. So once again, it's one of those things where if you have 8 pieces, you might as well wear it because just because. But don't feel obligated whatsoever to actually have it, because it's not going to be, I didn't actually buy it that time. It's not going to be practical at all. So let's jump to generator mods now. So for generator mods, it's going to be a little bit dependent on your episode. There's going to be some episodes where they drop from item nth metal caches, or not, sorry, nth metal caches, but generator mod caches. So you basically open up that box in your inventory and it's going to give you a mod that fits. Other episodes will have them on the vendor, for example, like Flashpoint. So you just go to Flashpoint vendor, scroll down, and the base mods here are going to be here. So you can always level them up and increase them further, but if you're looking for just replacing the mods just for cheap, it's only going to cost 1 mark each. So in this case, we buy restoration for them. And then we want to make sure we have 4 powers. And in the reds, it doesn't matter. It's going to be whatever you are in DPS stance. If you're Celestial Might, Celestial Precision, doesn't matter. That's what is impacted there. So whatever you are as a player. So now we're going to jump to our layer and show you where these go. Okay, so in your layer, you're going to find your generator. Go to your mods, restoration, restoration B, healing conversion, and field medic. And you're going to add the 4 restorations. And the 4 powers. And like I said before, your DPS ones or whatever your DPS are. And same thing, your general ones, these are going to drop in content. You could have urgent war fronts, bases, and league calls. It's completely up to you what you want, but that's not going to impact your healing at all. So what is going to impact your healing is your loadout. So let's jump on and discuss that now. Okay, so with loadouts for Celestial Healing, they're kind of split into 2 different loadouts, one for pure healing it and one for gem spam. But regardless, they're always going to start with Admonish. Admonish is your group heal, as well as it's your combo heal. So you want to combo into Blight, which is going to be your 8-man heal over time. Next on the pure healing, you're going to have Consume Soul. Consume Soul also puts out a heal over time as well. You're going to have Renew. Renew is your priority heal. So priority heal is going to heal yourself and your most in your group member. Next, you're going to have Virtuous Light. Actually, we can go Blessing first, but either way, Blessing is going to be your shield. And then we're going to have Virtuous Light. And Virtuous Light, you have to watch. Virtuous Light is a burst heal, 8-man, and then it turns into a heal over time. So what you don't want to do is have to hit, if you see like your group taking a little bit of damage or you just want to heal over time, don't pop Virtuous Light just for the heal over time, because the heal over time is much weaker than the actual burst heal. What you want to do is have Virtuous Light when you have the group taking a large amount of damage. So if they've just taken like a massive burst of damage, it doesn't have to be the entire group, it could be like 3 or 4 players, 4 or 5 players, doesn't matter. So if they've taken a big burst of damage, say like after they've gotten like swatted by tentacles in QE, or just being hit by like the curse or something like that, or fire, it doesn't matter. So any kind of mechanic, if Grodd charges them, something like that, Virtuous Light is great because it's going to be a massive burst heal and then the heal over time. So you don't want to just hit it when players are full health, because they're going to be losing that burst heal opportunity. And then you basically have 2 choices. Now people can debate me in the comments section if they want, but I mean, Cursed Idol is a nice supercharge. It's a heal over time, which isn't always as practical. Similar to Nature's, it's still great. It's heal of pets. So the nice thing about this too is that Consume Soul heals NPCs, Virtuous Light heals NPCs, as well as Cursed Idol. So if you're running like a brick tank, or you need like or if like it's content where an NPC can't die, like Superman, Wonder Woman, whatever, so Cursed Idol is great for that because it's going to heal them as well. But it just, I mean, heal over times aren't as beneficial as a healer supercharge in general compared to like a shield. So it's going to be up to you. If you want to run a supercharge, you can. You're not going to be running Eye of the Gemini on this build. So this is just like kind of, you know, you'll use a supercharge as a healer. It's kind of like that oh crap moment. It's overwhelming. So it's still a great heal over time. Don't get me wrong. But you don't always have to run it. So what you can run in the substitute is Guardian's Light, which is going to be the channel power heal. So Guardian's Light, similar to Viturious Light, when the group has taken a massive amount of damage, and they're especially below 50%, they're going to get healed much more quicker by this. So it is a channel heal, so it is a longer cooldown, as well as a power cost. You can get interrupted on it, but it's just one of those powers that are quite handy if the group has taken a large amount of base burst damage. So it's kind of handy for, like say if you remember like Clock Tower Elite, the final boss fight with those drones, everyone took massive spike damage from those drones. Well, Guardian's Light was perfect for that. Fractured Godsphere, if they just taken a big hit from the bombs or from his phase and didn't have a Page of Destiny proc, well, Guardian's Light would be great for that. So it's all situational. So if you don't want to run a supercharge, because like Bloom, you know, metabolic boost, all this stuff, it's life drain, it's going to be useless. I mean, Sacrifice wasn't too bad, but then Sacrifice is definitely not worth 10,000. It's not worth your entire bar, that's for sure, because it's a taunt, it doesn't protect you, and it's just a weaker shield in general. So I mean, it's definitely not worth that in terms of supercharge. Concentrated Ground, same thing, 60-second and a 10,000 supercharge cost. I mean, yeah, Concentrated Ground is great, but it's a small area effect. It's not, if it's like a large room, it's not going to cover the tank. Especially the bosses like Flash the Future and Flash Actually Voyage are part of the Flashpoint raids. The tank is usually way on the other side of the group. So either you're putting Concentrated Ground in the group or on the tank. So it's just not as practical, especially not for 60 seconds and 10,000. So you're left with running like Cursed Idol just for a basic heal over time for an extra one, which you'd already have with Cleanse Blight and Consume Soul and Virtuous Light as well. Or you're running like Guardian's Light, not running a supercharge at all. So that's basically your preference here. So depending on the situation, depending on what your preference is, but as long as you at least have these 5 healing abilities, you're perfectly fine in Celestial, and you can sub out the last as you choose. So, and with that build, obviously you would have Purple Healing Ray, Page of Destiny, and Transformation Card. So that's going to feed off of this. You're always proccing off Guardians or Page of Destiny from using Admonish, and the Purple Healing Ray is going to work off Admonish and Renew in terms of priority heal and a group heal, which I'll show in the kind of rotation example. So the only other loadout you can technically run, if you're in those gem spam groups, is going to be Scrap the Soul Cloak, Page of Destiny, and Eye of the Gemini. And with this one, I mean, you can technically keep Cursed Idol because it's still a 5,000 power cost, so I'd probably drop it just to be sure. But then you want to run Pheromone Bloom, Metabolic Boost, Speed Drain, whatever. At that point, you're not dropping Virtuous Light, you're dropping Consume Soul, keeping Blessing, and then keeping Virtuous Light. Virtuous Light's always going to be in your loadout. Amazing heal, you can't give that up in terms of being an 8-man heal as well as a heal over time. You can drop Consume Soul because Consume Soul is just another hot. You don't necessarily need it. Virtuous Light's going to heal NPCs as well, so you still have that ability. And then you still got your shield as well as Admonish into Renew. And I mean, if it's a content that we really don't need a shield, then yeah, you could take Consume Soul instead of Blessing. But I mean, it's still nice to have a shield in content, even if it's a 4-man. So that's all it is. So I mean, all a gem spam rotation is you switch your artifacts around and you take a bunch of 2,500 power cost moves. That's all it is. And then basically you're just spamming, you're just spamming your supercharge off cooldown for the DPS. And I mean, at the same time, it gives you 5% extra restoration and dominance technically for your heals, so it makes your heal stronger while you're in it. So that's always handy as well. But that's all it is. And I mean, I even know healers that run 3 supercharges. So they could technically at that point drop Blessing and then pick up like another 2,500 like dash attack or speed drain, whatever. I'll put speed drain in just in case of dash attack. I know healers that have run 3 supercharges with Celestial because you can keep spamming Admonition to renew all the time and then just have Virtuous Light when you need it. I mean, you can keep doing that, especially proccing up Purple Healing Ray if you really want to do that and drop like Scrap or something like that, depending on your power cost. But you can keep spamming Admonition to renew. You're still going to have your burst group heal, your priority, and an 8-man heal over time from Admonish, and keep just doing that. That's a little excessive, but I mean, it is plausible, Celestial. You could do that if you really wanted to spam Supercharge, but that's not necessarily how I want to do it. But I mean, it's all completely up to you and how you want to do it with the DPS. I'm just showing you what healers are going to be expected of you. You're going to see them in LFG saying, "Are you a gem spam healer, or where's your gem spam, or where's your green circles?" It's going to come up. So I'm just trying to prepare you for it. Okay, and then let's touch technically on some rotation examples here. Okay, so to give you some rotation examples, we'll make sure we have the correct ones on here. So we can kind of show you just an example what the actual heals are going to be. So Renew is obviously going to be a priority heal. I'll get low and show you Virtuous. So Virtuous, see that massive burst heal, and then I've got small heal over time. So that's why you don't want to lose that burst heal from Virtuous. As you can see here, Guardian's Light is going to be your channel power, but massive healing. Just takes a moment to get up to full. And also now I have my Purple Healing Ray procced. So if I go up to this, I can proc Renew. Now I've got that personal shield, as well as it's going to reset the cooldown. So if I go back to my Purple Healing Ray here, it's going to reset my priority heal and group heal and restore 20% power. So for example, if we did it on the group heal, now the group heal is a little bit different because Admonish is going to be our combo. So if we go to Admonish, it's going to be Celestial combo down here to Blight, tap melee, hold range. So I'm going to do Admonish, tap melee, and hold range. And now I have the heal over time active from Admonish. So I get my initial group heal. So we'll drop my health again and just kind of show that. So I get my initial group heal from Admonish right there. Oops, I screwed it up. Shouldn't talk and calm at the same time. So yeah, so burst heal from Admonish, tap melee, and hold range. So I get the proc the healing over time. And you can see that from the effects on your body. This means that if you have those aura on you, that means you have Blight active. So if I need to activate it again, I can see that on my body. So basically it just means that you have the heal over time active, which means that you pretty much always want to keep that active. So that's why you're pretty much always comboing into Admonish. So we'll get this load down again. It should show the Consume Soul dot. That was Page of Destiny proc, don't worry about that. So now Consume Soul. So Consume Soul is a smaller heal over time. And now we procced our Purple Healing Ray, so now I'm going to proc it off Admonish. And you see that? I didn't combo Admonish, I didn't need to, I'm just showing you that the heal over time. So we got these losers now attacking me. They can't just let me show my guide in peace. They have to be losers. Okay, so yeah, so we go back there. So when I procced it the second time, Purple Healing Ray, that was the second one. So places the heal over time on you and your allies for 8 seconds, increases the heal over time value, reduces the cooldown, or resets the cooldown, sorry, and restores power. So that's what that effect was at the end. So what you're doing basically all together, you're still comboing Admonish, clipping into Consume Soul and Renew, so then I have 2 heal over times active at the same time. And that's pretty much all you're doing. So comboing into Admonish, clipping with Consume Soul, doing it again, clipping it into Renew. If you need to, clip all 3. Yep, putting your shield up if you have to. So as long as you're maintaining Blight into Cleanse, or sorry, Admonish into Blight, then you're perfectly fine, because you won't always keep that heal over time up for the group. So if you need it into the priority, any Consume Soul you can do it, just depending on what the situation will call for. We can get ourselves get lower here. Proc Guardian's Light, which is also very quick and easy to procking Purple Healing Ray, just because of the massive amount of heals you're going to get from Guardian's Light. And we can kind of wait and get lower again. And do Admonish into Virtuous Light. And then we can also show an example doing, we'll wait for the cooldown on Virtuous. So we got Admonish into Blight, clip with Curse Friends Renew, and into there. So now we've got the heal over time. I'm full health, but so we do that. Maybe we do that again. So now I have the Blight dot. I have the heal over time. I have the cleanse. Let's do that. So let's get super low here. I'm just kind of randomly talking out powers here. Okay, so we're into Admonish, flipping those 3 into Virtuous. So now we've got 3 heal over times active. Really easy to proc Purple Healing Ray. Quite easy to stay at full health. And then basically that's all you're doing. So depending on what the situation calls for, if you need to refresh the heal over time. If not, you can clip Admonish into Renew. And just keep doing that. Or use Consume Soul if you need to put that heal over time out. And then basically you're just keeping Blessing, Virtuous Light, and Guardian's Light depending on the situation. So Celestial doesn't really have a rotation per se. The rotation is always going to be Admonish into either Consume Soul into Renew or all 3, just depending on what the situation is, depending on how the group is taking damage. And I don't really need to show the rotation for gem spam, because all it is just hitting your superchargers off cooldown. I will show an example with the Page of Destiny proc. So Page of Destiny, just it's procced a couple times, but let's just keep doing Admonish. Just so I have some stacks active. Okay, we'll let it tick down there. And right there. You saw the sound, you saw the massive heal. That is the rescue heal from Page of Destiny. And then obviously, the more stacks you have, that certainly wasn't 10 stacks, you're going to get a much stronger heal from it. So that's what I mean by rescue heal. It's completely passive, and that's why it's so strong. So if a player forgets to block a mechanic, or doesn't block a skull attack, or it's a DPS just like DPSing through mechanics or skulls, he'll get rescued by that heal. So that's something you don't have to heal about it. You don't have to react to it because you're not looking at the DPS, not following mechanics. It just heals it. As well as, especially the tank. If the tank misses a shield combo or something like that, then or like a rage tank's in a rage crash, Page of Destiny's there. You don't even have to worry about it. It's completely passive, and that's why it's so strong. And that's why it's pretty much the group saver artifact. So that'll be it in terms of Celestial. Just remember, always that combo. I mean, you can move around too. You don't have to be static. So you could do you can keep moving around from it, or bunny hop while you do it. That was a bad example. But you're just making sure always for that aura that the Admonish dot is active, or hot dot. Keep saying this. Damage over time, heal over time, force a habit, but that's all it is there. And then you're subbing out, just you drop Guardian's Light, drop Consume Soul, put in a couple supercharges. If you're really desperate, drop Blessing, for a third supercharge. But you always want to have, no matter what, Admonish, Renew, and Virtuous Light, no matter what, in your healing loadout. The rest, if you want to run 3 supercharges, 2 supercharges, that's completely up to you and your group. But you always want to make sure to have those 3 abilities, because that'll be the core of Celestial Healing. So, take care, guys. We'll see you in the next video.